Welcome to Conversations with Toy, a blogcast tackling life one episode at a time. This is the time to air out life's craziest moments. This space is all about speaking about life's hang-ups and ways in which we can leave better than when we started. Topics are all about ways we can find space to be better in life, love, mental space, and health.
Since 1998, Stamps.com has been one indispensable tool for nearly 1 million businesses. Stamps.com brings the services of the U.S. Postal Service and UPS shipping right to your computer. Whether you're an office sending invoices, a side hustle Etsy shop, or a full-blown warehouse shipping out orders, Stamps.com will make your life easier. All you need is a computer and a standard printer. No special supplies or equipment. Within minutes, you're up and running, printing office postage for any letter, any package, anywhere you want to send it. And you'll get exclusive discounts on postage and shipping from USPS and UPS. Once your mail is ready, just schedule a pickup or drop it off. No traffic, no lines. Cut the confusion out of shipping with Stamps.com's new Rate Advisor tool. You can compare shipping rates and times to easily find the best option. Save time and money with Stamps.com. There's no risk, and with my promo code POD, which is POD, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in POD, which is POD. That's Stamps.com, promo code POD. Stamps.com, never go to the post office again. Happy Friday. What an amazing day to be back with you, amazing people, for this Friday's episode of Conversation with Toy. If this is your first time, please don't make yourself a stranger. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can make sure you get all of the newest episodes when they hit. Review. The best way, free 99 way to support a podcaster is to review. Tell about the things that you loved about the show, even the things that are improvement. We want to hear those as well. But make sure that you share the podcast. There may be a friend, a family member, even an enemy that you want to have them listen because you want them to catch something that they need to hear. We accept all of that. So share, review, and subscribe. Those are the best ways to always support your best podcasters, because podcasting isn't always easy as it sounds. But we are here for another Friday. I am super excited. We are 1 week away, less than a week away to the holidays. And when we say holidays, we mean Thanksgiving, the time when we all come together to either have a dinner with one another. We catch up on those old stories that we've heard 20 million times. We want to try to keep the family drama down. Let's give you some key things for you for next week for Thanksgiving. Things that you don't want to ask people at the Thanksgiving table. 1, stop asking people when they're going to have children. Whether they are single, whether they are married and they already have children, when their next child is coming, if they're going to have children, let's mind our uteruses. Yes, let people do what people need to do for themselves. It is one of the most irritating things to go somewhere and you're trying to cut the turkey and you're trying to eat your meal, catch up on that good macaroni and cheese, and then you have somebody asking you 11 times about when you're going to do something. Let me tell you something. In this day and age, people are trying to do without telling, so let people move in silence. So let's not ask that. Let's stop asking people when they're going to get a husband or when are they going to get married, when they're going to get a wife. Let's stop doing that. Relationships and the relationship status that somebody is in or chooses not to be in is none of our businesses. We can actually catch up with somebody and just say, how's life treating you? Allow that person to then give you all the information that they choose to give without pushing and prodding. It's just very, violating. You just want to eat your chicken, right? You just want to eat your piece of ham. You literally just want to eat that fork full of macaroni and cheese, or just chill and eat your piece of pie and quiet. And nobody wants to have the holidays. It's already a triggering moment. Holidays is one of the most triggering time for people because there's some people who have been newly divorced. There are people who are single and they're okay with being single, but they still want someone. Or you might have lost a loved one, somebody that is dear to your heart, and it may be a struggle to even want to get up and do holidays. People change when the holidays come around. So let's try to make holidays a little bit more lighter. So yes, we have less than 1 week to the holidays. It's going to be whatever you choose to make it. I am a firm believer that you need to do what is best for you. So if you're not strong enough, you don't have the patience for it, you don't feel like dealing with your family, you need a little bit of a break, I'm going to go ahead and high five you on that because you should have that. So yeah, let's just go ahead and keep the holidays as light as we possibly can. Also, this is not your time. If you're not a master cooker, you've had all these months. You've had almost a year from the last Thanksgiving to this Thanksgiving. If you're not qualified, and by qualified meaning there is somebody here on this good earth that says, yes, go ahead and make that mac and cheese, sis. I love your mac and cheese. If you're not hearing that, this ain't the time. For the people that are trying to gentrify mac and cheese, let me just help you out really quick. I know that we are trying to eat better and healthier, and I believe in that. And there are a million ways to still keep mac and cheese tasting like mac and cheese. Like, I'm all for if you want to use almond milk in there, I'm all for that. Like, I'm personally vegan, so I'm going to make my own vegan mac and cheese. And my vegan mac and cheese tastes pretty good. So, and so does my regular mac and cheese. However, if you are not a cook, this is the time for you. You had all year. You had from last year to this year. Stop waiting until the holiday comes around and the week of you want to start trying your hand at new dishes. You should have been practicing all of this time. I needed you to get together and have already practiced and put that into motion. So I need you to go ahead and not do that this year. Stick to like bringing some champagne or some type of, if you're going to a dry party or dry dinner, go ahead and bring some good, juice, some utensils, something other than you cooking. This is just not your ministry. So let's be aware of that as we go into Thanksgiving holiday. But as I was saying before, you got to decide what it is that you want. If you have decided the family is just, I'm going to take a break, go ahead, do that. If you choose to go around your family and decide, listen, I'm going to stay an hour and see how it goes, but the second something cuts up, I got to go. I high five that. And why do I high five that? I high five that because we have got to get to the place we allow grown people to be grown. I could not wait, to be grown. Like my mother said, you can be grown when you pay these bills. I couldn't wait for that moment. Now, again, adulting is ghetto. And now that I am an adult, I see what my parents were trying to say. But that doesn't take away from the fact that because I am grown, because I'm grown, like my parents don't pay none of these bills over here. I have yet to come home borrowing money from them. I haven't had to, thankfully, prayerfully jump, knock on wood. I haven't needed emergencies by needing them or anything like that. So I'm good and grown. 40 years old, husband, children, good and grown. So I will say I can stand on that. However, if I go to somebody's house and I'm done, I'm tired, I tapped out, or they're doing the most, saying things, not taking accountability, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave politely. I'm going to attempt to leave politely, but I'm going to leave. There is nothing wrong with that. We have got to stop having this whole situation where we tell people they need to stay a certain amount of time. I'm going to stay till the spirit tells me to go. And when the spirit says, get up and go, I'm getting my children, we packing up and going. One other last thing as a 5-second conversation with, this whole Thanksgiving situation before we get into our guests. Listen, I am teaching my children that their body belongs to them. So if you go to hug my children and they pull back and they're not interested, or it's something about your spirit that makes them uncomfortable, please understand you will get your face, I won't say hurt like physically, but your feelings will be on a platter before I allow you to make my child hug, kiss, or engage. I believe that children should be respectful. They need to say hello. Everybody is due a hello. But if my children does not want to hug you, I'm not one of those parents that are pushing this whole hug thing. Now, I know this is some newfangled information. This is newfangled. Like my mother would say, y'all got these newfangled ways of raising your children. That's okay with me. I'm all right with that. I just don't have the energy of telling a child that they need to continue to be engaging. And engaging to me means hugging, physical touch, any of those things with people, whether they're an elder or not. I believe that my children can respectfully decline. They can be respectful, but their body belongs to them. And you know why? Because I'm not allowing them to grow up in a situation where other people are pushing their ways on them physically when it comes to their body. So if you go to hug my children at any given time on this planet and they say no or they pull back, the answer is no. Please do not try to embarrass yourself, because I will respectfully I'll give you that first respectful tone of telling you, like, basically, no, they're not, and they don't owe you no hug, because they don't. Like, my kids don't owe nobody a hug. I don't owe you a hug. They don't owe you a hug and a kiss and all that. We can love you from afar. It's a hello, respectfully, and walk away. Now, if you gravitate towards from that first, hey, God bless, or that first, we're not interested, and then you escalate it after me politely telling you to back it up a little bit. So then I'm going to start making an exit plan. But in the midst of the exit plan, it just depends on where your energy goes is where my energy will go as well. So I just need people to understand that, because children should not be forced to hug adults. Do you not know how many children are taken advantage of, and it be the adults that the child knows? It be the family members. It be the friends of the family. Y'all be trying to listen. Y'all will sit up there and out somebody from the LGBTQI plus community, but you'll sit up there and condone your cousin and uncle that is a full blown child molester, right? So I don't do that. So I just want you to know that people have this thought process. So when you go to hug somebody's child and they tell you now, no, thank you, and then you want to escalate, I just want to say Thanksgiving is coming, Christmas is coming. Let's not do that to people. Respect people's space. Like, that's really it in a nutshell. Let's just go ahead and respect people's space. But I honestly hope that you do have an amazing Thanksgiving, in spite of you having to put some boundaries. There's nothing wrong with boundaries. Boundaries are completely healthy into the atmosphere, making people respect you, backing people respectfully off of you. Give everybody that one respectful backup. And then when they, they don't want to, they are habitual line steppers, then you got to escalate it. That's just how I believe. So hopefully your Thanksgiving, because the next time we come together, it will be after Thanksgiving. And so I hope that your Thanksgiving is blessing. Like, I hope it's beautiful. I hope it's peaceful. Even if you're by yourself, that you get to do all the things. I always thought about what I would do if I was by myself, single, no kids, no family. I'm not sure. I probably would try to spend it with my parents, and if not, I probably would just be somewhere doing me, like getting together with some of my other single friends, maybe like relaxing for once. I do a lot, so I would probably be in the spirit of relaxation. Whatever you choose to do, make it what you want it to be. Don't let anybody control what your day should look like. Listen, we don't get that many days off. We don't get that many days to congregate and hang out with family and friends, but do so safely. Listen, Uncle Billy Bob and them has been all around here bopping around these streets and don't have a mask and doesn't care about all these other things. Listen, you better protect your health. Now, you can believe in no vaccination. You can believe in vaccination. That's between you and your Jesus or whoever you serve. I'm just telling you to protect your own personal health, because if you think for 2 seconds that family members and friends are going to come together and care about your health like you care about it, you'll be sadly mistaken. So do what you got to do to protect yourself. Let us get into today's guest. Let's just lead right on into there. So we have Miss Jayne Allen. She is the author of Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. It's a series, everyone. It's a series. I am so overjoyed to have her with us. She is a Harvard Law grad, a popular speaker, a thought leader, experienced business executive, and a noted writer. Like the lead character featured in her book, she is all about and can share living life as a successful African-American woman and self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur. She successfully built several brands and has had the experience of launching a beauty company on QVC. This book is a trilogy. This is the first out of the trilogy. It's an amazing read. So if you have not read Black Girls Must Die Exhausted, in the show notes, we will have links for you to purchase that book. You can purchase that book at all of your books, where books are sold. I particularly want to go ahead and put out Target, because I know Target is one of the people that carries it. It's a great read. First of all, let me go ahead and give you a little bit of a pro tip. I have been on this journey. I love reading books. I am an avid reader. And when I love reading books is I also just love putting the papers in my fingers and allowing the pages to go through my hands. I'm a little bit more old school when it comes to books. Now I know everybody and their mama has some type of audible, electronic book. I would adjure you to read the book on your own and then go back and listen to the audible of this particular book. Now, I will say that for most books I read, I do the same thing. I buy the book, then I get the audible, and then I listen to it after I've read the book. Let me tell you something. I read this book in 2 days. It is that good. Once you start to read it, you get all the way in it. You get to learn about Tabitha. You get to learn about her friends. You get to learn about her love interest. You get to learn about Tabitha's grandmother. And it talks about basically, this is like the Black girl survival book. It's like a journal. It's almost like a love letter. It's basically if all Black women who's had Black friends who's sitting up having conversations with their girlfriends, and these are different topics that we literally have all experienced. And I'll just say women of color, to be honest with you. And so this is a great and amazing read. The book is amazing. It literally brings up topics that are really hard, things that we are, hit hard with. We're talking about mental health. There's even a conversation about suicide. There's conversations about, being enough. What does that even look like? How does that even translate in today's society? So we have Miss Jayne Allen. She is here as our Lord guest today. I am just so overjoyed to have her. I want you to lean in. Buy the book. Everything in the show notes will help you along with that journey to buy the book as well as to get the audible. So I can't wait for you to listen to the audible. I can't wait for you to read the book. It's amazing. Listen, I want you to read the book, buy a few copies and give them to your friends. If you have a set of girlfriends that you're just like, what do I buy them? I would tell you to make them a self-care box. I am a big component of self-care. If you've been reading along on the blog, which is at www.toytime.org. You should go on there. I'm always about some self-care. Put a nice plush robe. Put some good smell goods and some candles in there. Put that book in there with a little eye mask, a little bit of a chapstick or some type of a lip gloss, something that's like luxurious, some type of bath bombs. Make your girlfriend a little self-care package and put that book in there. It'll bless them. I promise you, it will bless them. Like I would, when the next book, which she'll talk about, the next book comes out in February, I would be on that. So yeah, that would be a great gift to give to your girlfriend. Grab her, make this amazing book box. Make it beautiful, make it pretty, put all kinds of rose petals on top, just make it beautiful and present that to your friend with this book. And you have created something that is personable, something that is usable, something that she may not necessarily be running around out here trying to regift it because she's going to want to keep it for herself. Make sure you do that. Listen, I can give you some ideas for some gifts. So I'm telling you that would be a great gift. So without any further ado, let us bring in Miss Jayne Allen, the author of Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. All right, welcome to Conversations with Toy. Listen, I don't know what you're doing. I need you to stop whatever you are doing because we have a whole entire treat. I wish I could see my face, but you won't. Just listen to my voice. The joy is there. So we have Jayne Allen. If you don't know who Jayne Allen is, I need you to get your life together. Get your Google going. Hit your buttons. We're gonna put all her information. We got it. Let me tell you, Jayne Allen is the author of Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. This is like the sister girl guide to being a Black woman in America, dealing with everything possible from careers to family, to not having a family, to whatever you're choosing to do. Like this is us being in our own space, living our lives, making these very hard adulting decisions. And she literally just stole every conversation I've had with every girlfriend of mine and put it in a book. Jayne, welcome.
Thank you for having me. That's such a great intro.
Listen, I mean, I didn't even have to it's so natural, to just say it. I mean, that's honestly how I felt. So if you have not read Black Girls Die Exhausted, do yourself an elite favor to just go ahead and read it. So I'm gonna put a disclaimer. I not only read the book from cover to cover, I then went back and got the audiobook, because when you listen to the book in addition to reading the book, or vice versa, maybe you're like, I don't got time to sit and read, put the audiobook in. Who is the narrator? Because it was so good. Her voice is absolutely amazing.
Yes, Marcella Cox is the voice narrator, the voice actress or actor who narrated the audiobook.
She literally opens this book and makes the book pop. It makes the book come alive. You feel like, okay, yes, that's how I would have said it. That's exactly the tone in which I would have said it. You know, as if you're not familiar with the book, and especially when you're listening to the narration, there are points where she's talking to herself in the book and then talking out loud. And all those conversations we've all had, right? We have all had. So just tell us like the synopsis, like the general start, and then we can get right into conversation about the book.
Sure. So the book is in first person narration. So the main character, Tabitha Walker, is the narrator, which makes it feel very intimate. So it is important that the audiobook, the voice actress you connect with. And so I'm really excited to hear that you had that positive experience with it. But we meet Tabby Walker on her worst day. She's 33 years old. Everything in her life, so she thought, was going according to plan. She'd done everything she was, quote unquote, supposed to do, and finds out on this day that we meet her that she has a reproductive health issue, potential infertility crisis, and her time to have biological children is dwindling, like for real. And it's a shock, it's a surprise, and it really throws a wrench in everything that she'd been thinking, because she was just kind of like, well, I've got time and I can focus on this, and my priorities are arranged in the way that they're just so that they're supposed to be. And so then the story follows her having to reconfigure her whole life and really reevaluate what's most important to her, reevaluate her priorities. But mainly it's a story, two big themes of fulfillment. You know, this concept of, you know, Black girls must die exhausted takes on a few different definitions and meanings within the course of the story. And also a journey of finding authenticity, which is so very important to see from a Black female protagonist perspective. You know, there's so many ways that we're policed, where we're told by, you know, society and societal expectations that we're less than or not, or all of those things. And so the journey of finding our authentic selves and living from that place is really a hero's journey. And so that's what we experience with Tabby and her colorful cast of friends and family. And yeah, that's the gist of the story. She has a on again, off again, sometimey romance that I think you'll feel one way or the other about. And hopefully it just makes for a really good read.
It does. Let's start with the conversation of like infertility, because it is understood and known. I think it's becoming more well known, or at least more well talked about women, Black women specifically, with infertility. I know growing up, well, as soon as I started getting my period, like I started having all these different issues that I would go to the doctor and try to get explanations for. And then depending on what doctor you're talking to, they don't always gravitate to give you what you actually need. So then you grow up focusing on, like Tabby, you're focusing on your career, because, you know, we're always taught, go to school, get your education, be whatever you're supposed to be. And so you're doing that. Then you don't even put that into play until after the fact. I've had friends who've had infertility issues or currently having infertility issues. And it's something that as a Black woman, we're just taught that it's supposed to be natural. We're supposed to just want to gravitate towards having children. And then once we do, it's supposed to just happen. It doesn't always happen that way. How important was that to bring this up? Because like I said, it's just becoming a conversation.
It's just becoming a conversation. And when I went through my own personal journey, and I had fibroids, dealt with that for a really long time, and also freezing my eggs. And I found out not too late, but I found out later than I needed to, the information that I needed about that. It's expensive. You have so many other options when you're younger, including your choice of employer and how you manage that. And it's covered by some employers and not by others. And that's a real, 5-figure consideration. And so when I thought about, here's this novel I want to write, I want to make it meaningful, that it's from a Black woman's perspective. And I'm going to say a woman's perspective who is living the societally created experience of Blackness. So this woman's perspective, this human being's perspective, that was really, really important to cover these topics that really aren't well explored in fiction or nonfiction. So I don't know, people know now it's a fictional story entirely, but I thought that it was really important to take her through into these spaces and show these things in life that aren't readily explored, certainly not from a Black woman's perspective. So that I thought that was really important.
And very true. And I loved how Tabby's mom and Mr. Cook, what is this? She's like, I know you're not about to start freezing your eggs. Like, that's like the typical Black mom experience. Like they, especially things that like my mom would say, this newfangled thing. She would say
newfangled. That's right.
Yeah. She's like, what's this newfangled stuff y'all got going on? Like, and you try to like tell like a old school mom, like, listen, I'm trying something different different that we may not all have talked about that's necessary. And you're like, back in my day, we just had kids, and it's like, we're not in your day. Like, we need to have these conversations. And I was like, yeah, I definitely can see that. And I know anyone reading that could definitely feel that moment when her mom's like, what is you doing? I know you ain't thinking about it. Like, right. Here she is, Tabby, like really about to go do all the adulting things. She's trying to save to buy her house. And now here she gets this happen. And now that may not necessarily be a possibility.
Yeah. And it's, we have to make those kinds of choices, especially when we find ourselves in situations where, the really having choices that window has passed and we didn't even know it. So, that was kind of something for her also, that she, might have had other options had she known more about it. And that's the other thing about infertility and reproductive health. It is really kind of a battle of information and support. And a lot of times it's something we don't talk about. I've had a lot of groups of women that have said, I've been dealing with infertility issues and I have never spoken aloud about it because, I didn't know how people were going to respond, or it's never talked about. And so just, encouraging those conversations and the sharing of information that's so powerful, because it's always better to have more options than less. So yeah, that the whole experience that Tabby was having, I think people will, if not find it familiar, at least get a little bit of a laugh or I know somebody like that feeling from it.
Definitely. And then I wanted to go into, we're talking about this whole Black women existing. You see Tabby. I'm trying to like combine.
Yeah, I know.
So we see her up for this possible promotion. And here she is playing the game. The game at work when you're the Black person, period. And then if you're the Black woman, and the conversation of us, if we're too loud, right? We can't be in certain spaces and be too loud. We can't be in certain spaces and be who we are, because who we are is judged right off the cuff. I felt every part of that moment when she's trying to figure out a way to assert herself, and then she's being told you're not asserting yourself enough. But then if you do assert yourself, then what?
Right, exactly. Yeah, the one of the things that I'm so glad that you brought that up in general, because one of the things that I realized was part of the preparation for this book was really starting to think and ask myself, what is the experience of being Black? Like, what does it really mean? Because we have our culture and we have, our things that are common culture in Blackness, but what's the experience? On the human level, as the person I am, what does that feel like as a Black woman? What does that even mean? What's happening to me? What am I experiencing? What are the layers? How can I unpack this? And so I really had to think, in the spaces that we occupy, what is particular about that experience? And that's one of those things where you're too much and you're not enough at the same time. And you don't know, you have to find a way to play the game, like you're saying, when the rules aren't made with you in mind, and in fact to the contrary, but yet you still have to show up and find a way to successfully advance or successfully show up in a way that is part of the team, but also advantages you, which is why you're in your workplace in the first place. And so right. To have Tabby kind of in this space, and and she's got her boss who it's unclear if he's on her side or not.
Right. Is he team Tabby or is he not?
Like, is he
trying to help her? Is he trying to mentor her in the right way to make sure she's okay? Or is he trying to self-sabotage just to say he gave her a chance?
Exactly. And those are the things, and we kind of brush all those things off in life, and not really, without even realizing that has an impact. And then I really wanted to use this book to ask the question, what is that impact? What is this? All these things happen, and they don't happen to everybody. So to the people that these things happen to, what is happening to those people? To the Black woman that's experiencing that, it's not just, you go out, we brush it off, but that's not really what's happening. It is affecting you. You might be ignoring it, or we're not exploring it. We're not acknowledging it. But what is it? So I wanted to use the book to really ask that question, and then to celebrate who we are in spite of all of those things that we carry, but at least to acknowledge, no, this is happening. And there's an impact there. What it is varies person by person, but here's how it impacts this woman.
I love the relationship with Tabby and her grandmother. I love the fact that she would go visit her on these Saturdays and they would have these different conversations. But towards the end, you see these very strong conversations. You start talking about race, and you're talking about, how would you feel to be a Black woman? How would you feel to be a white woman? Like these conversations are now happening, and you don't even realize until obviously the end. And I won't go fully and spoil it for you and those readers that have not read it, but these conversations are being ingrained. They're done intentional. I know they're done intentionally, because I was like, now why is she doing all that? She's just dropping all this knowledge, and all these things are happening. And tell me about how that experience was writing that, because I was just like, oh, there's this, and I kept saying to myself the whole time, let me hold on to this, because there's a reason.
Yes, the book is, everything is very intentional, and the relationship with so for people who haven't read the book, Tabby's a Black woman, her grandmother is a white woman, and her father is mixed. So her grandfather is Black, and her grandmother is white on her father's side. Her mother is Black with Black parents. So Tabby's paternal grandmother is white, and everybody else in her immediate family is Black. So, but this is a very close relationship for her, and very intimate. And it's basically her closest family member for various reasons that you find out in the story.
Right.
And what I did want to do when I was thinking about what is race, what is that experience? Because it is so much of a part of life, whether you want it to be or not. As a Black woman, it is something that it is. And so to really examine what is Black, it was created in our society to enable the creation of whiteness. And so to me, I'm thinking you can't really have a exploration of race, of Blackness, without having some contrasting way to explore what whiteness is in some way.
Right.
And so but there's so many conversations we don't have in our society, even if as close as people would be. But the intimacy between Tabby and her grandmother that's created in their relationship was meant to create the space that they could talk about anything, and it would feel natural, would feel natural for the reader. And again, we could use fiction to explore these things and ask those questions. And so the questions that Tabby asks of her grandmother, and her grandmother asks of her, what does it feel like to be white? And her grandmother asks her, what does it feel like to be Black? She really loves her and really cares and really actually wants to know, and not out of a curiosity, but out of a desire to know this person that she loves so much. And what are you experiencing on a human level? What is your human experience that this thing is happening to you? and please tell me what it is, because I want to know. I want to see you.
It was very genuine. It was extremely genuine. I didn't feel at all that it was like just thrown, like it was sincere. And I look back to my conversation with my own grandma. I'm like, I would, if my grandmother and I had a racial difference, if she was white and I was black, I feel like I would have had the same level of conversation because of the level of love that she had for her grandmother.
Yeah. And love is the conduit to be able to have that conversation. I mean, that's it. Like, that's the ingredient that's it. You put one thing in the pot, and then that's how you could have that conversation. So that was, what I wanted to be able to do. And that was, and show in that space. And they have many other, and also the generational effects of this. And you hear about her story eventually, with her grandfather, and how race has affected her grandmother, who's a white woman, but has, married into this space and come into this space in her own way. And so there's generational effects. There's, effects that are lasting in different ways that affected her, so I really thought it was important to do that, because I have not seen, I've seen it done in some ways, but I wanted to try for these characters to go to some intimate spaces and look for truth there.
I love her friends, Tabby's friends, Sexy Lexi.
Sexy Lexi.
Yes, and they have different dynamics. Their friendship and even their own personal lives and relationships to each other have these different dynamics. You have the one that's married, and we won't go into their situation, what happens with that. We have, and you also brought up the conversation of suicide, which I enjoyed. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I enjoyed the fact that it was refreshing for it to come into play when it comes to Black women, and the fact that suicide rate is there. Like, we don't talk enough about these very serious topics, but you weave them in very, very well. And in the way that it was brought out in the story, it was very subtle. And I think it would happen in any circumstance where you have this friend you've had forever and a day. You think you know everything about them, only to find out, in your mind at that moment, nothing. So the sisterhood that we as Black women always try to sustain in our relationship, because a lot of our sisterhoods are what keeps us balanced, to be honest with you.
Right, exactly.
They keep us afloat. Like, you see where Tabby's going through at the job and she sends that text, hey, happy hour, let's go meet. Like, you see those, that's our lives. Like, hey,
this has been that kind of a day. You already know. Yeah, right. My last nerve. Yeah.
Meet me at the spot. Like, that's a very normal response. But even in despite of the fact that they have this very strong sisterhood and friendship, there's parts of their lives that they are not touching. Eventually they get to that conversation, but at that moment they're realizing that especially Tabby, she's realizing at these moments that, okay, what she's thinking is not what's happening. The conversations that they are having are great, but there are parts that they're missing. So I love that you brought in the aspect of suicide into the book as well.
Yeah, I think it was really important to talk about mental health overall. And, and friendships, to me, it was, they have such a strong friendship. And I thought it was important to show that even as imperfect friends, they show up imperfectly for each other, but they show up, and it's still meaningful, and it's still impactful. It's still important, and it's still sustaining the way that they are friends to one another. But they're still not, everybody's still not telling the truth. Everybody still has their secrets. And I think that's also something that's very common, I guess, maybe in all friendships, but definitely within the Black community, because we are conditioned to shoulder so much,
right,
and carry so much, and unflinchingly. And it's like, no, flinch. You need, like, you're carrying a lot. You should flinch. Right. Like, you should just say, ouch.
But this whole level of strong, right? We have to be strong. So right. On my appearance, I'm going to come in right. Like, okay, I'm having a bad day. We might be grabbing drinks, but okay, this is my issue. But like, I'm still strong.
But I'm okay.
This is just my little 5-second break, but I got to go back in and then tag back into, being strong. And we're not always as strong. Like,
nor should we have to be.
Right. And honestly, it's until recently, you never heard Black women be able to really vocalize that, the stress and mental health that they may have been, under. I talk about that all the time, but not everybody is comfortable with talking about, hey, I'm dealing with mental health. I'm not really all together. My stuff is not always right, because, we're judged twice.
Right.
We're judged twice.
Right.
So we don't want that magnifying glass on us to look like we're not together. We're not as
Right.
poised.
Right. And we can't afford, we feel like we can't afford to, because we're already held to a higher level of scrutiny. And so we don't get the benefit of, making a mistake or having something seem like it's not together, because there's already this presumption that we're not together, or we're, less capable, and all of that, which is unfair. And I'm glad that we're entering into a space where we can start to talk about it, because it is too much. It is an unfair burden. And we need to have those healing spaces and those conversations. And I'm saying this as apart from the book. I'm saying this, as a Black woman myself, and, with friends and my own friendships, and, people that I encounter, it is too much. And we're doing superhuman type of, coping. And if you've got these friends that, are supporting you, there's got to be a space where we're able to, let that strong Black woman facade down, and really start to rely on each other more than we have. So that was, one of the things that I was hoping to and trying to show with the evolution of these friendships is, that they are in that space where, everybody's kind of hiding behind that strong Black woman facade, but push it as an author. What I get to do with fiction is throw enough at them that they can't stay there. So right. So that's the point of the plot, and what I get to do as an author. I'm like, I'm sorry, because I love my characters, but I got to do this to you, because I got to do whatever it takes to get you out of that mode, so that we can see what happens after. So right. That's where we are with the book.
I love that. And again, I'm trying to hold back, because again, I'm trying to give y'all breadcrumbs so y'all can go back and actually read the book.
The spoiler free, I know, right?
Free breadcrumbs, but Tabby and her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I like the ending, which I won't go into, but I liked this concept of being able to challenge the person that you're with. And maybe not necessarily, she didn't necessarily want to challenge, but having this challenge in the relationship of this ideology of how long do you date someone? When do you have these difficult conversations to talk about what it is that you want in your future? How far do you push this future or not future? Mm-hmm. And then when you do get your answer, you don't get your answer, then what do you do? And then, of course, adding on to her reproductive issues, it all was a very strong conversations being led throughout this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was very impressed with how well you did that, because I was like, well, we could end this right now. I was like, I'm not, right. I'm not feeling it. We could end this, but that's me talking from 40 versus my early 30s or even my late 20s, that I probably would have been in the same position as she was in. But as we get older and we start figuring out what it is that we want, and this concept of relationship, you really did a great job. I was like, no, don't do that. Don't, it just kept me really thinking, because I just knew for sure it was going to go one way, and it actually didn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm in my relatively early 40s, getting to mid 40s, but I really wanted to get into the space of someone in their kind of early 30s, and where this kind of stuff, in your 40s, it's just like, that's not going to fly. But in your 30s, you don't know as much. You're, in this space where it's like, well, maybe, maybe is kind of the
that's like the reoccurring theme, the maybe.
Well, maybe. Yeah, exactly.
I might be able to give that I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe. So, she's kind of in that, well, maybe space. And, but I thought it was important too, to give Mark his humanity. Mm-hmm. And, I think a lot of times in these stories, and sometimes in our lives, the the, partner potential partner, or the partner, the romantic interest, is this two-dimensional person, and they're a human being, and it's like, well, who is this person really? And yes, maybe he's doing some stuff we don't agree with or we don't understand, but there's got to be a reason why, and we should at least know that, or try to. So for me as an author, I'm always rooting for all of my characters, but regardless of what decisions they make, I think their humanity is the most important thing. And so with Mark, whether you just can't stand him, and I understand, or if it's like, we at least need to see him for the human being that he is, decisions that we agree with or disagree with aside.
You definitely gave him some humanity, because at first, from just the first read, I was like, oh, but then I realized after a while, without telling what his issues were, I was like, okay, he's not just coming off the cuff and saying, this is not where, like, he had some other factors that he was weighing as well. But at first I was like, he need to get, he need to make up his mind, like, really quick and figure this out. Or I felt like the typical, he led her on, which is a conversation that we have a lot too. If you've given someone X amount of years, whatever your X amount of time may be, then you're feeling like this whole, led on, but it really wasn't that way. So you did give him, you helped him, because at first I was like,
Yeah, I know. People are definitely on different camps when it comes to Mark. He is a polarizing figure.
He is. I had some questions for him. They did. I really did. But we're gonna see. He'll be all right. I loved it, and it brings back to the title, Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. So many parts of this book that we didn't even talk about are all being challenged, all simultaneously at the same time, because that's really how it is. We as Black women are not able to take in and compartmentalize the things that we have on our plates. We're being thrown life at us, and the things that we have to then think quick on our feet, but also show that we're soft, but then also show that we're hard, but also be in the game, and also not, that is what it means to be a Black woman. Particularly when the situation with Tabby and her grandmother happened. The fact that the boss was like, hey, you're gonna come back to work, like right. You're coming back to work, right? You need to be out like maybe a day and then come right back. And I just was like, that right there was like that first breath where I was like, that's where we are. It doesn't matter what we're being thrown, we still have to get up and still have to show up, and we still have to take these deep breaths and carry everything that we're carrying on our backs and still show up smiling, because God forbid we look frownish, God forbid we look crying, God forbid we look like life is really happening, because it is. We're not allowed to tap in.
And I think I think number one, just acknowledging that is new. Just acknowledge it. Just the acknowledgement of that alone is something that we have not done as a culture, as a group. And I think that was one of the things I really wanted to unpack and just say, look at this, look at what we're experiencing. Look at all of this. This is a lot for anybody. And look at how we're doing it with such grace and beauty and joy and laughter and humor and all of these things. Look at this. Look at who we are. This is amazing. And that is the celebration part for me. And then really asking, okay, now what more is there? What
else can I give? Right.
But what is fulfillment? We are towing these lines, we're doing these things, we're doing what we are supposed to do, and it's wearing a lot of us out. But when do we get whatever it is that we want? And when do we start to ask ourselves, what do you want? What do you really want? Like, here's what you're experiencing. And it's so much that you probably don't stop to even realize it or think, okay, well, what other way could this be? But if you stop to think, give yourself that. Like, what does fulfillment look like for you? What do you really want? What's going to bring you joy? What's going to make you feel like you got, what you wanted out of this life that you're living. And so, just to ask that question and introduce that question, I also think is kind of new.
Yes.
And to think that we could have fulfillment, so I hope that is a takeaway.
It is. What is on the pike for you for the future? Because whenever the book drops, whenever the next anything drops, I'm not even going to pretend to hesitate that I'm going to get it.
Oh,
because I want it. I want to read more. Like, your style of writing is it's such an easy read, but it's so layered. And I love that. I love
Thank
that.
you.
So what's up the pike? What's happening?
So Black Girls Must Be Magic is the next book, and that is February 2nd, 2022. So in just a few months, the second book will be out, and everywhere books are sold. I'm super excited about that because it's beautiful cover again, and the continuation of the story.
Vibrant. I saw the cover.
Thank you. Yeah, it's meant to be a celebration, and I love having the chocolate sister on the cover. And so that book is forthcoming February 2nd, 2022. And the third book, which is TBD titled, I believe we're still targeting 2022 for that book as well, but that's a TBD. And but I'm excited for that. I know where it's going. I have written the last words. We know where Tabby winds up. I do. You guys don't yet, but you will enjoy the journey. But that's what's happening with the series. And then we also have a standalone book with my publisher, another book that's outside of this universe. So we're having conversations with film and TV producers because for the Black Girls trilogy. So I'm hoping to see that come to a screen near you. And I was talking about the audiobook.
When I was preparing for our conversation, I was like, let's make sure she knows if this could go into screen, let's get this on a screen because this would be gold. This would be gold.
Thank you for that. I believe I'm so excited to, wherever that's going to go and where those conversations go, I believe it will be with the exact right team in the right place, because I know a lot of people now have this exact thing. They're looking for, okay, well, how are we going to see this on screen? So I'm like, we don't want to disappoint. No, because it's been a long time coming.
Right. And it's almost like you could literally rip it from the book and throw it on the screen and done well, it's going to just be something that we all can then have a visual of having conversations that opens up more conversations that we aren't able or weren't able to have in the past. That's my goal. I mean, not that I have a goal for your book, but that's what I'm hoping would happen, because I feel like this starts conversations. This starts up the dialogue. This allows us to be free to say the things that we probably didn't know how to say. You put everything in the book, and we're just like, that's exactly what we needed to say.
Well, I love hearing that, and that is definitely one of my goals is, to be able to facilitate conversation, celebration, just awareness, with an enjoyable read. Ultimately, this is, meant to be an entertaining and enjoyable read, but one of the if it could be more than that and do more, then that's important for me, definitely.
Thank you. So yes, if you have not read Black Girls Must Die Exhausted, I need you to not only get the book, get it in print. Get it in print. The pages feel great in your hands. Get it in print, and then go ahead over to Audible or wherever you listen to and pick the book up, because hearing it is like fire to reading the book. It's literally fire to the book. So you got to get both. I know, like, we want to do one or the other, and sometimes I would just say just read. I don't care which one you do. I am telling you, you need both. You need the print and you need to listen and hear it, because hearing it literally lights a fire that then brings the joy and like ties it all in together.
I just love that. I'm so excited that you love the audiobook, because readers, that was one of the things that I was most asked for at the very beginnings of this. And so I'm so excited that the way that became and came to be is so enjoyable. So I believe that whatever the next embodiment, as this continues to evolve and take different forms and shapes, it will be in excellence and as enjoyable, if not more. So I cannot wait until we're at some kind of watch party.
Yes, listen, because whatever watch party that is, that's going to be great. There could be like, and I'm like trying to market, but I'm like, you can make a care packages for these types of things. Like, it would put in the box with everything you need for it's everything. It's absolutely everything.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you being here. Is there any last things you would like to tell our audience as we head out and close out?
I just really thank you for having me and giving me a chance to talk about this book, and thank everyone for the support and reading, and just, to center self-care and fulfillment. And hopefully this book sparks the questions that are going to improve readers and listeners' lives. So
awesome. So in the show notes, you can get not only the links to the book and the Audible, you can also get the link to the blog that we're going to add on here. And you can also obviously listen to the episode, and make sure you sign up for her newsletter. That way, when the book or anything else drops, that way you'll be able to get it, because then you'll know what's everything that's going on. So make sure you do all of those things. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation, for taking your gift. Like, everybody said that your gift will make room, and it is doing just that. You have definitely gifted with your pen and paper. So we're blessed to know you and to get to know you. And so I wish you nothing but pure blessings as you continue to write and do all the things that you're doing.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
So what did you think? I hope that you are excited as I was to read it, as Jayne was to write it, because you got to get ready for the second part in this trilogy. The next book is coming out February the 2nd. And so you don't want to not have what you don't want to be, you want to be ready. I want you to go ahead and grab this book. Like I said, in the show notes, you can, there's links for you to, grab onto everything. Make sure you go into her website, subscribe to be, on her newsletter, so that when new things are coming out, that you won't be the last to know. Thank you, Jayne, so much for being a part of this conversation. We needed to be able to freely talk about what it means to be part of what it means to be a Black woman, and just the struggles that we inherently understand being a woman of color. So I thank you so much for being a part of this podcast for this week and this episode. Can't wait for the new book. I wish you nothing but the most success in everything that you do. And to everyone, including Jayne, make sure that you have an amazing weekend. Make sure you find something that speaks to you. Do something that is self-care. Do something that makes you feel nothing but joy. Rest. There's nothing wrong with taking a nap. Sometimes a nap and rest is a part of self-care. So go ahead and take care of yourself. And make sure that you love on yourself every last and single day. Have an amazing Thanksgiving. We are going to be back with another amazing guest. And you have been listening to Conversations with Toy.
Thank you as always for joining me, and I know that even in the deepest or joyful conversations, that there's something we can learn and apply. Until next time, I hope that you are doing better. If not, we will be back to talk some more and handle it. Peace to you and yours. Stay grounded.